everyone. Welcome to the meeting. Please mute your mics as you join. I hope everyone is here and we can start the session now. So I'll begin with my introduction. My name is Kanika Garg. I am the founder of Chitalium and I am pursuing my bachelor's degree in psychology right now, and I am currently in the state of New Jersey in the United States. Also here today is Chitalium's co-founder, Alakia. So let me tell you a little bit about Chitalium and what we do. Chitalium is an organization whose objective is to destigmatize mental health around the world, starting with India. Our mission is to spearhead the incorporation of mental health education in Indian school systems through seminars, after-school programming, and curriculum changes. We aim to educate Indian college and high school students on the importance of mental health, especially for depression, anxiety, and suicide. So if you're interested in joining our mission, feel free to message myself or Alakia because we're always looking for new members and new volunteers. Before we introduce Cheryl and Soumya, I want to let you know that we are keeping the Q&A segment towards the end of the session. So if you have a question during the seminar, you can open the chat box and type your question there. And then please feel free to mention the grade you're in and the topic related to the question, so we can later check the chat box and your issues will be addressed one by one. You will get a good 15 to 20 minutes for the Q&A segment. And at the end of the presentation, a link will be sent out, which leads to a feedback form. And if you're interested in receiving an e-certificate, then please fill out that form. So now I will go ahead with the introduction. Cheryl and Soumya are counselors and NLP practitioners. They're also the co-founders of Safe Realm, an online mental health counseling service that provides a secure space for individuals to express concerns and cultivate a deeper sense of self-awareness and effective coping styles that lead to increased positive self-esteem. So please welcome Cheryl and Soumya, and I request both of you now to take over.
Hope you're all doing well today. And we are excited to be here, and we hope this webinar, excites you, informs you, and at the end, you find it educational too. So yeah, we do our best to do so.
Rightly said, just how Cheryl said, and I would request if you can turn on your cameras, because that way the interaction for us becomes easier. I mean, it's nice to look at everyone during the session. So if you can, please go ahead and feel free to switch on your cameras. And if not, that's fine. So I'll start sharing my screen now. Okay, I can see one person. Hi, Suganti. Good to see you. Can we start off, if that's all right, Kanika, can we start off with the introductions?
Yeah, for sure.
Great, thanks. So we would want all of you to just, tell us a little about yourself, from where you are from, where are you currently based, and just about anything that you would like to share with us today here in the session before we actually start and, jump to the heavy stuff. So the floor is open for you.
Hi, I'm Shuganti. I'm based in Chicago. I'm an IT engineer and a mom of 6 years old. And thanks for organizing this event.
Thank you so much, Sugandhi. Thanks to be here.
I believe Suvarna also raised her hand.
Sure, Suvarna, if you wish to go ahead with introducing yourself, you can. And if you have any question, you can put it in the chat box.
Okay, we have Pooja here from Illinois, and she's a 12th grade student, and she's looking forward to learning.
Hi, Pooja. Looking forward as well. Thanks for your introduction.
Would anybody else want to come forward and introduce themselves?
I see Navya has also raised her hand if you want to introduce yourself.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Navya Sri, as it's written here, and I am currently in Tamil Nadu, India. I was born in Andhra, but I'm currently in Tamil Nadu, and I'm first year student studying at IIM Rohtak. Yeah, that's about me.
Great, thanks for being here, Navya. What are you studying, if we may know?
It's a 5-year course, ma'am. It's called Integrated Program and Management. 3 years of BBA and 2 years of MBA.
Wow, that sounds interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
It actually is because we have like a very large range of subjects, 3 years, ranging from philosophy, psychology, everything. So
Oh, great.
Wow,
Interesting.
good to hear that. And we hope you have a fruitful session today.
If there's anybody else who wants to introduce themselves, otherwise we can head forward and start our webinar for this day.
Hi, Akshay. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Akshay.
All right, then. Let's
Okay.
get going. So I'll be sharing my screen. Please let us know in the chat box whether you're able to see it. And by the way, I'm not able to see the chat box. So if Kanika, you could tell me, everybody is able to see it.
Sure. Yep, everyone is able to see it.
Great. So before we actually jump into the discussion, we have these two questions for you, which we would like you to think about, take your time, and let us know what do you think when these questions comes to your mind and you ask themselves. Who are you? And what makes you you? We also have a little exercise here which might facilitate this question for you. So try to think of a symbol that you think represents you. It can be anything in this known universe. It can be anything in your immediate environment. It can be, any living thing, non-living thing. But it has to be something which you feel matches with your characteristics. Feel free to unmute yourself and talk about it.
I would definitely say for me, it's like probably NRI because I've lived in India all through my life, like till 18 years. And then I came here to study for 4 years now, and now I'm working here. And it's sort of experience where I've lived at both places. And so because of that, the closest thing that could sort of represent me is probably NRI.
Okay, great. Thanks for your input, Akshay. When you think about your personality, is there any, object, any animal, or any other representation that you can relate with your personality?
I used to be a fan of horses because it's a sort of thing where that said that it sees where it has to see. I used to be that, and when I feel naive, I would like sort of feel that. At the same time, it's also used for being fast, and people look at it for because of horse races and stuff. People look at it for entertainment, and it's nobody looks at it as a bad thing. They people enjoy horse riding, so it's something that they enjoy with the horse. So if I just like chose an animal here, but like if I had to choose an animal, then I would probably choose an horse.
Well, great. A horse for you would be like, you would say that you are in certain times goal driven. You would want to focus on one thing, and want to be likable, just like anybody else, and just like how horses are liked by everybody. Well, almost everybody. So that's how you would want to see yourself, right? You would relate yourself to a horse.
Yep. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for your inputs.
There
Okay,
are
so
some
we
answers
have.
on the
All
chat.
right.
I'll read it.
Sorry, Akshay. Yeah.
Ms. Pooja Vemu said, she said she can see it. So she can feel like a tree. She can handle different challenges and still keep persevering. And she also likes to care and do what she can do to help others, like tree gives shade, oxygen, fruits, etc.
Great. Thanks, Pooja. I too relate myself with the tree. but my relation is different than what you described, and it's a very fresh perspective. So thanks for sharing that.
Also, Sneha raised her hand.
Yeah, sure. So I don't know, like I relate myself to a, like, sometimes a wind or a butterfly. It's because a butterfly never sits at a place. It always goes from one flower to another. But people are fascinated by the butterfly, and it is like, free. It doesn't. It So basically, when it's in the caterpillar, like caterpillar stage, and when it has to struggle a lot, but once it's proud, like once it gets its wings and all, and then it can fly. It doesn't have to think about back and all. So yeah, I do relate to that.
Great. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Can you come again?
Sneha.
Okay, thanks for your input, Sneha. So you like to, like, be spontaneous and free within yourself. You like to do what your heart tells you to do in that moment.
Yeah, that's right. Because I
Great.
believe, like, you don't get chances every time, and even in the past also, like, past, future, or the present, any incidents happen or anything happens, it always teaches you something or the other. If you just stuck on it, then you are just wasting your life. So you just move ahead, you just enjoy every movement, and you learn from it. That's what I believe.
It's
Great.
actually a
I
very
think you
powerful
sound pretty
insight.
sorted. You sound pretty sorted, and I'm happy to hear that how you are able to relate that living life in every moment, that is important, and not thinking about the future or the past, but living as it is. And that's what a butterfly does, right? It doesn't look back, like you said. So thank you for your inputs. Do we have any more um, comments in the chat, or does anybody else would like to talk about it? Kanika, Ilakya, it's open for you guys as well.
Okay, I'm trying to think about it. I I'm trying to think of an animal that I might relate to, and for some reason the hyena popped up in my head. Um, because I feel like it goes after prey. It's like it's chasing what it wants to, but if there's like bigger prey in the vicinity, sometimes it backs off. And I feel that way with like a lot of the goals that I try to pursue sometimes. Like I want to do it and I go for it, but if there's too many challenges in the way, sometimes I give up. I might come back to it later, but I think like sticking with the goals that I set is sometimes hard. So for that reason, I relate to the hyena.
That's a very interesting response, because when you started saying it, that it sort of goes after the little animals, but not the big ones. So I was thinking that that might you might want to convey that things that you're absolutely sure about, which you may perceive as they're not big decisions of your life. So you are like, okay, let me just do it, even if the consequences are like not in my favor. I won't feel any bad about it. But when you perceive a decision to be big, and it's going to have like a significant impact on your life, you might be not sure about it. But the way you portrayed it, in the sense about your goals, it's really interesting how you were able to do that in such a short amount of time. And that's how our mind relates, actually. That's the power of our mind, um, to be able to process a lot of information, to be able to analyze that information in a very short amount of time, and being able to relate it with how the reality is around us. And yet we call ourselves big failures, or we say we are dumb, when we are actually able to do so much in such little time. So I'm not sure, I see some more uh, responses in chat. Okay, Suganti says that's an awesome way of explaining. Okay, thank you, Suganti.
We also have one response from Vaidehi, who says, right now I feel like I can relate with the elephants. They are strong and harmonious, calm. They do their things, do not bother any other animals usually.
So Vedi, you like to, basically mind your own business, not, really get into anybody else's business, and just, minding your own stuff that you want to do. And that's a good thing, to be able to focus on what you want for yourself, given, how we sometimes get under the pressure of expectations from a lot of people, or expectations in general when we look around the world that we live in, and we start to compare ourselves. So it's a very unique trait if you're able to do that. Okay, this leads us to the question, am I enough, which is also the theme for today's discussion. And I think it is possibly one of the most common, most repetitive question that we ask from ourselves. Now, the question in itself is not something to be judged. It's not a right question or a wrong question. It's just a question that comes to us. But the way we answer it really significantly impacts how we deal with certain things in our life, how we act to certain situations, and how we behave in general. So with this, I would like to open the conversation of how many of you have had this question. And let me be the flag bearer. When you had this question, what were thoughts that led you to ask this question to yourself?
When we face things which is beyond our capability, sometimes we feel, am I enough? Do I have to do more?
Yes, yes. Can I get your good name, please? Because I'm not able to see anybody.
My name is Sentamarai.
Hi, Santa Marai. Thanks for
I'm
your
joining
response.
from Illinois. I'm Ilekya's mom. Thank
Oh,
you for
great.
organizing it.
Thanks so much for being here and supporting us. We really hope you enjoy this session on a personal level, and not just because you're here because of Kanika and Ilakya, but we do hope you take a lot of things from it on a personal level.
I'm sure I will get benefit from it. I like all their sessions. I'm sure this is going to be one of the awesome one. Thank you so much for taking time to do it.
Thanks for your response. And I relate to what you said, that sometimes when you are analyzing situations in which you have to take a decision, either it is a decision based on your individual circumstances, or a decision which might probably impact a group of people. They might be your loved ones, your friends, your family, anybody. So that time you may feel, am I enough, or am I capable of taking such a decision, and I want to have the best decision for myself and for others. So in that moment, we all want to do what we feel would be the right thing. But when we actually start to think about it, there comes the self-doubt always in us, whether we can actually take that decision or do something that we want to.
So we have some responses in the chat.
Yeah.
So the first one is Pranoti. She said, whenever I do some things, but still, I'm feeling that I satisfy myself or others. And then we had two other responses. So Pooja says, when I do my best and others criticize my ability or say that I'm still not smart enough or working hard enough, I wonder if I am enough for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mohita said, when even after giving your 200%, people around you keep expecting more and more and complaining, that time I doubt that really, am I enough?
Sure. Thank you for your responses, everyone. I'll start with Pranoti, and if you can be kind enough to unmute yourself and perhaps elaborate more on what you were trying to say, Pranoti.
Yes, sure.
Hi.
So the hi. So the thing is like, yeah, I do something or whenever the others expect us to do, like, yes, a work is given and we have given up full attention towards it, and but still they criticize or they just point out the things which are not required that much, but still it is there, and we get that remarks and like, you're not good enough for that, and we listen this like, you're not good enough for this, and I don't know why I have given you this work, I shouldn't have. So yeah, this remarks sometimes get it, and like, am I not enough for that much?
Yeah, yeah. No, it absolutely makes sense, like you said, and I'm also looking at Pooja's and Mohita's responses here, which now that you have explained elaborately what you meant to say, uh, is something similar to what Pooja and Mohita had written. And a lot of why this question of am I enough comes to us is because when somebody else criticizes us and we know we are giving our best, we know we gave our 100%, or when they say deliberate statements like, why did I even give you this work to do? I should have known you would not be able to do it. Or other non-discouraging statements. So it's actually remarkable how we get the question of am I enough, uh, when we get such feedback from people that also validates how we are all social beings. So even when somebody identifies to be introvert, they're still a social being, right? Mostly people confuse introvert to being somebody who doesn't like to socialize. Well, they have their own expressions and they have their own ways of socializing, isn't it? But human being is a social animal, which means that what other people says impacts us, and it will continue to impact us. There would never come a time where it won't impact us. And we might have the tendencies of saying, I really don't care what others say. I have reached that point in my life that I really don't care. But a part of us actually does care always, because we are part of that society. We are living in that society. We cannot thrive in a vacuum. Whenever we relate about ourselves, our world, it's always in comparison to that society that we live in. So that being said, the question of am I enough might be repetitive in nature, and it might come to us from time to time. It may come to us when we are 18, it may come to us when we are 40, it may also come to us when we are in our 80s. So that being said, what we want to center our discussion today is around how you can make sense of what other people say to you, no matter how discouraging, no matter how distressing, discomforting, or other bad adjectives that you would want to put behind it may feel for you. You are able to deal with it, you're able to manage it, right? Because when people say things to us, they usually don't take into account how we feel. Mostly it's impromptu. Mostly it's also out of their desire to say that thing to us, right? Because they might have that need that, okay, I need to tell her this. And some of them might choose to say it in a polite way. I'm not saying people would always be rude to you, but even when people have the absolute right intentions, they don't want to hurt you, we sometimes get hurt, isn't it? Because just how we process what they said to us, and what meaning we take out of it, it depends on that. I feel we have some more comments in the chat box. Okay, Spruha says sometimes when it feels like getting picked the last in the team for a sport. Some incidences come to mind when a friend forgets to connect with you but does connect with a common acquaintance. It feels like being not enough. Pooja says, especially when it is people we care about who say we are not doing enough, it is very discouraging. Navya says, relating the responses previously gave. I doubt myself a lot and ask this question to myself multiple times, as I'm this person who cannot hurt people easily. Like I might hurt them, but feel bad later. This attitude is the cause of me doubting myself, also comparing and overthinking upon various others. Well, I would just take this moment to appreciate all the thoughts that you all are pouring in here, being honest and choosing to be vulnerable, because it's very important to be vulnerable when we talk about such issues. If we come with a mindset that, okay, I'm going to attend this seminar which is called like I am enough, but I really don't want to like take anything out of it, or not not being an active part of it, then you would actually feel like you have you have not taken anything out of it at all, and it would feel like nil or void. So I really appreciate you all putting in your thoughts here and being vulnerable at this moment, and just be proud of yourself for saying all this and being open about it. So like how I was saying that we relate ourselves to other people and what they say, and that's when we start to have this question. But actually this question needs to be answered mostly in terms of how we feel about ourselves, what we think about ourselves, what concepts do we hold about ourselves. Those concepts surely include the environment we live in, the society we live in, but the society starts from us, right? It is we who live in the society, not the society who lives in us. So all the concepts that we start to create, they are created from within, but most of the time we attribute the reasons for them being created is through the external world. So our need to change the thinking pattern, our need to take that dependability from that environment to ourselves becomes very important to deal with this question of am I enough. All right, so what it means to be enough, simply put, no matter how much you would want to be prettier than the other person, taller than the other person, smarter than the other person, or anything else that you can relate to, being enough actually means acknowledging and accepting yourself right here, right now. So say if I'm here sitting in front of you, and say my hair is all over the place, say my lipstick is like smudged, and I have the capacity or the tendency to say to myself that I am enough. Nobody need to validate that. You know what, Samya, with that lipstick smudged also you look pretty. That validation can help me, but if I don't get that validation, my life should not be stuck in that moment. I'm able to accept that how I am is enough. Okay. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that I'm a perfect person. I don't want to be perfect. Perfect is an illusion. Perfect is nothing but a word. It means that you're just acknowledging all your flaws, all your strengths, all that makes you. And that is enough, because you're you are not earning that enough badge when you're being measured with somebody else, you're being judged by somebody else, that I give you the permission to be enough. You don't need that permission from anybody. You are enough. So realizing that you are complete in yourself, and as a person you matter, is what makes you enough. So you don't have to be more or do more, or maybe put on more makeup, put on new clothes, get into Harvard to be enough. You are enough wherever you are in this whole world, sitting right in your homes and listening. In this moment, you're enough. You're enough also is not something like I said, that it's not a final product, right? In when you say you're enough, you also acknowledge that you have your own shortcomings, and you are working on it. You're trusting your your hard work and just your faith that you will thrive. But even if you are not able to, sometimes the situations are not in your favor, or things go wrong, as they do every day. So that doesn't mean that in that moment your worth is declining. You're still enough. You are enough also doesn't mean that at no point you don't need any help. In fact, it actually means that you can reach out to people, can talk to them about your issues, and still be enough. So, with this, I now would like Cheryl to take over and explain you the concept of self concept. Over to you, Cheryl. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, Soumya, I can. Thank you so much.
Great.
Okay, so now that we are in the topic of understanding ourselves and understanding if we are enough or not enough, and questioning that question, um, to actually question and get an answer to "Am I enough?" It's very important to understand if who we are and what makes us who we are actually. Okay, so for that, it is important to understand our self concept. Now, self concept is generally an idea that you carry about yourself. It is based on your abilities, your qualities, your attributes, your personality traits, and whatever that makes you who you are. Okay, so it basically is, a mental picture of yourself and who you are as a person. Now, I can have a self concept saying, I am a pretty looking girl. I am a hardworking person. I am a good daughter. I'm a faithful friend. So, all of these are concepts that I carry about myself. Now, self concept can be both negative and positive. Okay. And we can have different self concept in different life areas. In one life area, for example, in academics, I can feel that, okay, I'm not that good enough. Okay. I'm just an average student. And in the relationships domain, I can say, that okay, I am a good friend. So we generally do not have only negative self concept or only positive self concept. We actually carry both. But what is important is to have a balance and to understand if you're carrying rational self concept. Okay, and if we do understand that if we are not carrying rational self concept, we need to obviously challenge that and address it and carry a much healthier and much effective self concept. All right, so we can move to the next slide. Okay, so what does self concept entail? What does self concept have? So Carl Rogers was a famous psychologist. We have this theory of humanism in psychology. He was the founder of it, and he believed that there are majorly three parts of self concept. There is self esteem, there's self image, and then there is ideal self. We'll be explaining in the next slide what each of the term means, so that you can better understand how you can relate it to your life and how you can relate it to it as a person. Okay, all right. So we'll take up self image first. Now, when we talk about self image, image is something that you carry in your mind, okay? Something, a pictorial representation of something that you have. We have body image, we have self image. So, self image majorly is the way we see ourselves, okay? When we look ourselves in the mirror, or when we think about ourselves, what is it that we create? What is the notion that we create about ourselves in our mind? So now self image obviously includes the way we appear to the world, to ourselves in the mirror. It can also carry our physical attributes. It can carry our qualities, and our social relationships also, how we are in our social relationships. So yeah, so we can have self image like, I have brown hair, blue eyes, you know I am a professional counselor, or I'm an outgoing person, I'm a serious kind of a person. All of that is your self image. Then we come to self esteem. Now, self esteem is the most important out of the all, and you would be hearing the term very, very commonly. Self esteem is a value that you put about yourself, the value that you carry about yourself, the weight, the value that you give yourself in life. So, a number of factors definitely impacts our self esteem. um, our friends can have a major impact on our self esteem. Our experiences, life experiences, can have a major impact on our self esteem. For example, if I've had a bad relationship, okay, and if I had been, um, maybe my trust had been broken, so I can have a self esteem that, I'm not trustworthy, I'm not capable of love. So all of that will affect the value that I carry about myself, the value that I'm placing. Okay, and that will definitely decrease the value and lower down my self esteem. And in turn, I'll have low self confidence in all of it, and I'll have problems in, different relationships in future. So, you know our self esteem is majorly placed on how we see, how we are perceived by other people, how we are accepted by other people. So if, we if our friends or maybe peer group, people we um who are there in our social circle, if, they positively respond to us, if they agree to, for to us being, positive or confident, we automatically will feel that, okay, we are confident, okay, we are worthy of it, because we seek that reassurance, we seek that acceptance from other people. Okay, and if obviously, if, people do not respond to our thoughts or our ideas about ourselves in a, let's say, not so positive manner, we find ourselves doubting ourselves. It will definitely have a impact on our self esteem and lower down our confidence about ourselves. So self esteem is very important, and, you know you should remember that, other people have a major influence on it. Thus it is very important to have a healthy social circle. That's why we stress on it. That is the main reason for it. um Okay, so next is ideal self. Now, ideal self is a self that we desire to be, or the, idea that we carry that, only when we achieve that will be our best versions. So, there's generally a difference between the self image that we carry and ideal self. And now, if the difference is huge, or there is a huge gap between our self image and our ideal self, we can also face incongruence that will definitely impact our self esteem. Our self esteem can lower down and automatically impact our self confidence also. For example, if I perceive myself as not so good looking as compared to other people, definitely my self esteem is lower. I have a negative self esteem. And my ideal self would be that, I become pretty, so that, people accept me and I accept myself in return. So that will definitely have a major impact on my self esteem. So it's very important to, seek that balance between self image and ideal self. Otherwise, as a result, the self esteem suffers, and obviously our values decreases, and, we face all kinds of trouble, in confidence, in our relationships, in academics, and all those other important life areas. So we can proceed to the next slide, and we'll get to know how we can work on, having a better and effective self image and a positive self esteem. All right. So there are major conceptions about self concept. So self concept is something that you're not born with. That is something that gets, formed over the years. right from the childhood. Like I said, that our experiences, our the people we surround ourselves with, all of it impacts our self concept. So yeah, so self concept is a view about ourselves, and in terms of several different life areas like religious, spiritual, physical, emotional, and social. Again, it's not learned, it's not inherited. It is influenced by both biological and environmental factors. But even social interaction plays a big role. So, if supposedly our parents are people who were people pleasers, for example, we would carry that notion that for us to um, be accepting or be part of our social circle, we have to be accepted by other people in our life. So we would have the tendency to people please. Okay, we would go to great extent. So we genetically would carry that trait or personality attribute in our behavior. So thus we say that it can be biological also. Now again, environmental factors, supposedly we see our parents going to great extents to help people, or go out of their way to please them. We would also learn that, observation learning. And then we would also um, think of it as a way of living the right way, right life. So we would go out of our way to help people, or seek out reassurance from them in return. So it develops through childhood and early adulthood, when it is more easily changed or updated. Um, so again, childhood and adulthood, you're still growing up, and you're experiencing a lot of changes. So it's very easy for you to get very influenced from your environment, from the people you are with. So thus, it gets very challenging when children with difficult environments, difficult home environments, they have negative self concept majorly, because um, they are subjected to emotional blackmail, and they're not given that love and that warmth that a child should get. So the age is very vulnerable, so that's the self concept suffers at the end. So yeah, so it can be easily changed, but we need to start at the root cause, and so that it does not impact the other life areas majorly. Okay, so self concept does not always align with reality. When it does, our self concept is called to be congruent. When it doesn't, our self concept is incongruent. So when we talk about self concept, some people also have inflated self concept. Okay, they might think very highly of themselves, or might think of themselves in a way that is not actually true. So and more so you see that being a trait of narcissism. So when that happens, obviously our self concept is not congruent. And when the balance is there between our self image and our ideal self, we say that the self concept is congruent or balanced. Okay, like I mentioned, self concepts are influenced by life experiences, family and peer group, media. So even for example, very very common example, you see our actor actresses or models being paper thin, or carrying a size zero notion, and our society accepting it also. We believe that that is the way of life, that is how people would agree that we are attractive, and we would feel accepted by our society. So media definitely holds a major impact on us, and does shape our perception about ourselves in return. And um, societal expectations, for that matter, society expects, especially in our country, that people need to be fair, or people need to be thin, especially girls. When they send out these matrimonial ads, they mention tall, fair, and beautiful. All of these are mentioned there, and then you obviously perceive that, this is the way of life, this is how you have to be in order to achieve that societal acceptance, and which is definitely not healthy and affects a lot of people. And does it creates body image issues, eating disorders, and all of it. So we need to understand that societal expectations are not actually the reality, or not always healthy. We need to understand a clear difference between healthy and unhealthy expectations set by the society, set by our peer group. Like we were having a discussion beforehand, um, not all expectations that are kept on you are to be fulfilled by you. Okay, we need to understand that there is a difference between rational and irrational expectations. And most importantly, it's vital for us to understand what expectations we hold of ourselves. That is more important. If we only focus on meeting other people's expectations, um, you know in reality we will never be able to please everybody. We will never be able to accept and carry out every expectation that is placed on us. We need to understand where to draw a line, and which expectation does not you know goes with our personality, or goes with our life, and something which is not effective for us or not helpful. So it's very important to make that difference. So self concepts are rarely all positive or all negative. It's not in extremes. We may have both, and we may have one being more heavier on one side. So we can have different self concept in different domains. Like this example we have, a husband may think that he is a good father, but he sees his physical self as out of shape or unhealthy. So he has a negative self image when it comes to physical appearance, but when it comes to relational self image, he carries a much more positive aspect. So here we see some examples of positive self-concept. Positive self-concept would have anything which highlights your positive attributes, highlights your positive qualities, okay, and highlights you originally as a person. So it can be as an intelligent person. It can be perceiving yourself an important caregiver or member of the society, or somebody who says that he or she is a excellent spouse or a friend. But on the other hand, we can have negative self concepts, which would carry notions like I'm stupid, I'm unworthy, I'm slow, I'm not good looking, I'm unattractive, and all of that. And not necessarily all negative self concept that you carry are true. So again, the difference between having to know oneself in reality, what we are, what makes us who we are, our strengths and weaknesses, and then making a judgment about our self concept will be an important step in creating an effective and healthy self concept. Okay, next slide, Ilakya. Okay, so how do we develop a healthy self concept now that we have discussed what self concept entails? So, number one, it is important to ask yourself, who am I? So, we stress on introspection, we stress on having a regular self talk, wherein you ask yourself who you are. Okay. We began this webinar with that question, and it might have got many of you thinking, it got us thinking as well. So, it's important to ask ourselves regularly who we are, who makes us who we are. What are the notions that come to your mind when you think of this question? It's important to note that and understand where does this concept come from, how, and if it is something that is original, that is something that is coming out of you, or something that is being put on by you, by your society, or other members from your social circle. Next is to identify your strengths and weaknesses. Now, why we say that even noting weaknesses is important, is to understand that we are not perfect. Although we might try to, we might strive to become the perfect version of ourselves and highlighting all our strengths, but it is also important to understand and highlight our weaknesses also, so that we strive towards effective and healthy acceptance of ourselves. We all are flawed, we all have our weaknesses, less or more, doesn't matter. If once we identify and work towards accepting our strengths and weaknesses both, which makes us who we are, it can lead us to developing a healthy self-image. Next is to identify your personal goals. Again, highlighting and identifying what are the goals that you carry about yourself, why those goals are important to you, how would achieving that goal help you in life. Now, achieving this goal or identifying these goals, firstly you need to understand that what are the expectations that you carry about yourself. The expectations need to be assessed whether, again, it is given by you or given by other people. Then once you rationalize it, you can then come forward and put forward your goals, and then strive towards working towards achieving them. Then acknowledging and appreciating your achievements. So many a times, we forget our little achievements, and only stress on the major achievements we have. Either it is getting a huge sum salary and buying a car, buying a house, but we forget about our little achievements. And thus, when we fail to achieve those big achievements, we feel that we're not worth it. We again have that question, am I enough? So it's very important to appreciate both your little and small achievements. We may have both in our lives, and every one of us might have achieved something or the other in life, be it be as small as um, helping a friend, or as major as buying a house for ourselves. So it's very important to acknowledge them and appreciate them, and feeling grateful to oneself about it. Then last is repeating positive affirmations every day. Very important, affirmations are always positive. And it's very important to remind ourselves of the positive things we carry, of the positive traits we carry. It's very important for us to remember ourselves. And and doesn't matter if you have one affirmation or two affirmations that you strongly believe in. It is very important to make note of those affirmations that you strongly believe in, and keeping it original, and then repeating to yourself throughout the day or every day, and especially when you feel low. Okay, it will work wonders. Once you start, you'll see major changes happening, and you'll see feeling of gratitude and feeling all positive, and developing a healthy self concept in future. Next slide. All right, Soumya, over to you now.
Thanks, Cheryl. I'm going to talk about positive self-talk. Now, we all know self-talk, as the name implies, means how we talk to ourselves, meaning our inner dialogue. And that is very important in building a healthy self-concept that we just, came to know about. Now, before I actually jump into this, people would start to ask, but this is something we're already aware about, talking positively to ourselves, and that's the part is where we start to struggle. We don't know what to say to ourselves. The thing is that you need to always be able to figure out when you're talking to yourself negatively, and that happens very consciously, because when we do negative talk to ourselves, or when we say overthink about scenarios, or do anything that we know is not really going to benefit us or is going to make us distressed, we are aware about it. If we are not aware about it, that's actually a psychotic state in psychology, where we are not aware about what we are doing. So we are all conscious involved in this process. And that's why trust your ability to be able to stop yourself when you do negative self-talk. So a basic example would be, right now if I feel, oh no, we are out of time, this presentation was a disaster, I did not do any good, and I wasted like an hour of people who came here. But and that might start to make me feel very anxious, right? I would think all the efforts that I put in, they just boom, in an instant it got wasted. But if I say, you know what, I tried to give my best today, there is always a lot of scope to improve, but I did do my best today with the given time, with the given knowledge and the information and all the resources that I had. I think people would have something to think about. That clearly changes, how I start to feel about myself. And that's exactly what you should do when you do positive self-talk. So I'm not going to get into a lot of technicalities, but I would just want to remind each and every one of us, including myself and Cheryl, that when we actually start to do that negative self-talk, we need to snap out of it, because we already know that we are doing it. It's a conscious process, okay? And not let it ruminate. So ruminate meaning, going in circles, thinking about the same negative thing, but not reaching a point where you are able to get onto a solution, or where you feel you are in a better place or a better state of mind, okay? And it has been rightly said, like, you live the words you tell yourself in the mind, right? So it's like, if I keep telling Ilakya that Sitalem is doing great job, Ilakya, but she would want to believe that no, we are doing nothing for the society, then there's no helping. Then even if Sigmund Freud would have come, who was supposed to be like the most famous psychologist, and would have given Ilakya free services, she would still have not, gotten any better. You would find out, and please do your research, most of these mental health disorders that develop are through the self-talk that we do to ourselves. And mostly it has to be depression and all sorts of anxiety, except for the social anxiety we have. So so self-talk, it has also been found in a lot of studies, and I looked into these studies personally and saw a lot of videos. You would see athletes doing a lot of positive self-talk to themselves. I can do this. You would see basketball players murmuring to themselves, I can do this, I can take this shot. And we have seen that people who do these positive self-talk, athletes who do these positive self-talks before a game, they are actually doing a better performance overall than people who do not do the self-talk at all. By that, I mean not even the negative self-talk, but also not even the positive self-talk. So it's very important for you to keep a check on the kind of words you're saying to yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Think about it. Saying to yourself, I am stupid, just because you did wrong on an exam. Is that thought helpful for you? Start becoming selfish. Is that thought helpful for you? No, it's not. What is that I can say to myself in this moment right now, which will not make me feel stupid? Well, if I did bad on a maths exam, I'm pretty good at playing guitar. I'm pretty good at understanding my friend's feeling and giving her a shoulder. I'm pretty good at helping my mom with simple, household work. I'm pretty good at a lot of things. So do I really want to focus on the stupid? Okay, try to do that. The other thing that we need to focus on when we do positive self-talk is something we call milder wordings. So the term milder would mean that when we have the tendency to use, words which have, weightage or intensity. For example, I'm stuck in traffic and I say something like, oh God, I hate traffic. Now, hate is a very strong word. And that is the kind of, emotions that are being generated inside of me. I might start to feel even more frustrated. I'm already in a situation which I'm not liking. But when I say this to myself, I might start to feel more frustrated. So I can say something like, I don't really like traffic. and it annoys me, other than saying I hate traffic and it really gets me angry. There has also been studies, and you would start to notice this, that how people in the health background uh, have stopped or reduced the usage of word pain. They say discomfort, because it has been found that when they ask about a patient's pain, they tend to feel more pain, because the intensity to feel that gets bigger and bigger. But when they say, how would you rate yourself on discomfort, they usually feel less pain while answering that question. So it's interesting how words have a lot of power on how we feel and what meaning we take out of our thoughts. Can we move on to the next slide, Ilakya? So here are some basic examples and just few out of nth examples how you can also develop that positive self-talk. Again, it's an ongoing process. It's not something to be mastered in a day or in your entire life. It's not something that is linear. It's supposed to be a constantly evolving thing, just like how you keep growing. So if you have a thought inside of yourself, I failed and I embarrassed myself, you might want to replace it with something like, I'm proud of myself for even trying, or at least I tried. If you don't want to be proud of yourself, that's fine. Saying something like, I at least tried, that took courage. I've never done something like that. I'm overweight and out of shape. I might as well not bother. Well, I'm capable and strong, and I want to get healthier for myself. And so on. So try to find out, what are those words that can bring you comfort in the moment when you're doing negative self-talk, and make those words, make those statements your positive affirmations that Cheryl talked about. Keep saying that to yourself. When you wake up in the morning, first thing we do is we look in the mirror and we start to brush or we wash our face, right? And it's very important, if you can do this activity for at least 1 week, that when you wake up and you look in the mirror, you say at least 3 positive statements or affirmations to yourself. They can be changed every day, or they can be the ones that you use every day, doesn't matter. But try saying that to yourself even when you don't feel like, and even when you question that what's the point of using these, but just to test it out. Again, don't have the mental blockage that it's not going to work, because then you have already decided it's not going to work, isn't it? Give it a try and see what changes you can start to feel inside of yourself. Maybe you feel more energetic with the days. Maybe you start to savor your food, start to focus on other things that you're not able to focus. So all these things would start to happen on a subconscious level. But do try to observe what kind of changes you can see when you say these positive affirmations or statements to yourself. Next, please. So this is just in general how a healthy self-concept will get you ahead in life. And when we talk about healthy self-concept, all the concepts of your self-concept, all the aspects of positive self-talk come under it, because self-concept is supposed to be an umbrella term. And I think we have talked about it in a much elaborative way earlier, so I would not get into any more of it unless somebody has a question regarding that particularly. Can we move on to the next slide? I think that's about it. Well, you must remember to act as if you are the person you want to be. So I personally go by this quote, that which I think Steve Jobs said, that be yourself, everybody else is taken. And that's actually very true. We are all unique, no matter, my hair may be prettier than Cheryl's. Well, sorry, Cheryl, it's actually the other way around. But see, that's how we are. And we need to constantly keep reminding ourselves that we are enough. So like how I think somebody in the chat box said that, you know, it becomes very hard for me to say that to myself. It's very hard for me to comprehend that I am enough. You are already aware that you're hard, you know, that it's hard for you to comprehend. You might as well start to work on it and find ways that might make you believe that in fact you are enough. And with this, I think we are at the end of our discussion. If we could get on the next slide, that would also help people to look at where all we are present socially. And we are happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Cheryl and Soumya, ma'am. It was a very informative presentation on why our self-esteem is easily damaged and how to properly take care of ourselves. So I'm sure that everyone got a fresh psychological perspective on what's going on in our mind when it comes to healthy self-concept. And this presentation actually also reminds me of my abnormal psychology class where we learned about healthy self-concepts. So I enjoyed that you're both bringing this to general knowledge. So now for the audience, it's the time for questions. So if you have sent questions, Soumya and Cheryl, ma'am, will start addressing them in the order they were asked. And if you want to ask questions now, feel free and we'll be staying after to answer them. And so Alakia will also send out a feedback form now that we kindly request that you fill out so we can learn more about your experience, and you can also receive an e-certificate once you finish filling it out. If you would like to join our Chitalium community as a member or volunteer, please fill out the feedback form as well, and we will get back to you shortly.
Okay, so we have one question by Anjali, and Pranati also says that she wants an answer to. What are some examples of positive affirmation? So I just want to quickly go on how to build a positive affirmation. Now, affirmations are effective when you highlight the areas where you wish to see change in, or the areas where you see yourself struggling in, and then highlighting what you are actually doing for it, what you are actually doing to bring about changes in that area, in specific life domain, and creating affirmations or creating statements that are original, that you believe in, and that is something that is done in present tense. Okay, so you say something like, suppose you're finding difficulty in work, or you're finding difficulty in completing a project which is perceived as very difficult by you. You can say something like, I'm doing my best to achieve a good result in this project. I'm doing everything I can to build a good effective project. Okay, so it's very important to highlight those areas where you wish to seek change in, and where you see yourself struggling in, and to highlight the much more positive manner, positive actions that you're taking currently in that domain, and ignoring all of those self-doubt statements that you are carrying, or negative statements that you're carrying, and understanding how we can assure ourselves that we are doing our best, and how we can just affirm our strengths and our positive qualities. That would definitely help you. Soumya, would you like to take the second question?
Sure, it's from Bukhari, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. How can one develop positive self-esteem as well as self-image in the light of everyday challenges? Thanks for your question, Osma. And it's a very, very good question, actually, very practical question, because in the daily hazels of life, and in everyday challenges that are being thrown to us, we tend to get stuck in them, right? But that's also where a lot of self-care activities come in, first of all. And then the idea of positive self affirmations, saying to yourself, and you can make that for yourself, or if you can and would like to find it out on internet and you find some statements which you relate to and use that, that's also fine. But positive self-esteem would also happen when you every day choose to focus on your strengths that you have other than your shortcomings, and believe that you're working on your shortcomings. Okay, have this idea, allow yourself to have shortcomings. You can, don't if you have that aim somewhere that I have to be perfect, say hypothetically you love dancing, I have to be perfect at dancing, I have to be perfect at this Bharatnatyam or any other dance form. Do not try to create what we call an unrealistic expectation for yourself. Okay, because there is no perfect. Instead, you can say, I'm getting at it better each and every day. So that changes the feeling that you're also allowing yourself growth, but at the same time, you're also celebrating your small victories every day. So changing that dialogue is very important, I believe, because I'll tell you how it works. When we think about something, there is something called automatic thoughts that comes to us almost all the time. Okay. So right now I might look that, oh my God, from 29 participants, they've like gone down to 25 participants. I immediately might start thinking the session was boring. It's very natural. These thoughts come very quickly. They are even what do you say, faster than the speed of light. But your ability to take a step back and think, is that really the case? But I do see 25 people still being here. They must be onto something, right? So I change that thought for me, instead of thinking about the other four who left. So and if I'm still concerned, I might think in terms of they might have other commitments that they wanted to go for, instead of continuously thinking that my session was boring. If I want to assume, I might have the choice to assume what would bring me comfort, isn't it? Because nobody is like putting a gun at my head and saying, no, I want you to assume this, right? We have the choice to assume what we want to assume. So it's either good or bad, and we would want you to be encouraged to assume good for yourself. So try to find out activities which makes you feel connected more to yourself. Okay, it can be anything. Do more of what you like to do, and if you are not very sure what you like to do, then just keep going. It matters. I mean, right now, like you said, everyday challenges, the biggest challenges I feel is to stay safe in your home, isn't it? And if you are able to do that and being here in the session with us, I think you're halfway there in being positive about your self-esteem.
Navya also raised her hand, so feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question.
Okay, I'm not sure if we are exceeding a lot of time, but the question is regarding not the entire thing. Like in the entire session, we spoke about how to make us feel we are enough. But the question is something like, how do we know what is enough? Because what is enough to me might not be enough to my father. He might be like I might feel attending classes from 7 to 7 is a lot of thing and I have to just sleep right now. But my dad might be like, it is just mental, like mental ability that you're putting into studies, and people are doing better than you. So he actually tells me this, that people are doing better than you, they're working 12 hours physically and then yet they don't sleep. Then why do you want to take rest? Like when he asks these questions, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to understand that my enough is not aligned with his enough and I'm supposed to meet his expectations? Or am I supposed to tell myself, no, to me, this is like this, and so I have to take rest?
So, Navya, thank you for the question. It's actually very important. Okay. And so, with our webinar, we wanted to focus on, understanding realistic expectations, A, from ourselves that we put forward and from the other people that we have. Okay. So, when we talk about am I enough, when we, put forward that question, am I enough is a very subjective question, and the enough part is very subjective. For me, being enough would be meeting people's expectations, okay, which is not healthy again. For Soumya, it would be something else. It would be something that if I am achieving my goals, I am being enough. Okay, so being enough, like you mentioned, that you have different expectations from your father, and for you this is enough, and for your father it might not be. So again, it's subjective. For him, his goals from you, his expectations from you would be different from you, what you carry about yourself. So again, it is very important to understand that here you're not here to meet people's expectations. You cannot even aim to meet everybody's expectations. Okay, it's not healthy. It will drive you crazy, in short. So you need to understand that firstly, what expectations you carry from yourself. Then also incorporating the expectations that other people carry from yourself. But assessing from out of all these expectations, which one are rationalized, which one are specific, and which one you can achieve, something that you can achieve. If you strive towards meeting expectation that it cannot be achieved, then you will feel low. Again, it will impact your self-esteem. So it's very important to highlight and make that difference in order to have much more healthier expectations and much more healthier goals in life. And yes, it's okay for you to come forward and tell your father that okay, I understand, I respect you have these expectations from myself, but right now, given the resources, given the circumstances, these are the expectations that I have from myself, and this is what I am doing in order to achieve that. Okay, so you're giving him that respect, and you are acknowledging his expectations also, but you're also putting forward and being assertive that the expectations that you carry from yourself, after analyzing and assessing, are enough given the resources that you carry. Okay, so it's completely normal for you to come forward and tell your father that, or any other person that comes to you and say that you are not enough, you are this and that, and puts forward not so rationalized expectations. So don't be afraid to put forward your feelings and your thoughts about your expectations. If you feel that you are doing your best in the given resources, well, there you are.
Mom, to that, I have like a follow-up question maybe. Uh, from what you said and what is written in the chat by Vaibhavi, if I tell my dad that I am enough, like I am feeling this is enough for me and I'm satisfied with this, he understands it in a different way, saying that you are stunting your growth right here and you're not looking forward to grow more. So in that case, if I even take the word of I am enough and I'm satisfied, he's not going to even understand. I tried doing this actually. I'm not saying without trying. I did say, and then he understands it in a way that you should always keep moving forward. That is also a positive statement. But then I feel he's not acknowledging the success that I have right now, and he's running for something that we don't have. And in that gap, I lose a lot of myself, thinking that what I am doing is now is not enough at all, and I'm not done anything at all. So in that case, how am I like to push up myself daily?
So
Because I'm
Navya,
surrounded by such
yeah,
people. In that case,
I understand that you have a very challenging atmosphere and challenging people who put forward these statements and expectations from you. But we have this concept of areas of control and areas beyond our control in psychology. Okay, so there are areas that you can control in your life. Okay, there are areas like your feelings, your thoughts, and actions that you can control. You have your control over. But then there are areas that you cannot have any control over, like other people's actions, other people's feelings, other people's statements. So if even after you put forward your self or your thoughts and ideas, and it is not being accepted by other party, it's not your responsibility, even if it is parents. Okay, I understand that it will have an impact on you, but then again, is it your responsibility? Can you come and push him to accept your idea, your opinion? No, you cannot. The only thing that you can do is put forward, make the other person understand, and give them that space to understand and ask the questions. That's all. But you cannot force anybody, you cannot push anybody to understand that, no, my way is the highway, my way is the only way, and your way is the highway, and all of that. Okay, so focusing on, your expectations, what you are doing is right, and feeling that, given all of it, are you doing the best of your capability? If the answer is yes, well, then you are enough then.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for all the questions you've asked. It's been a very informative session. And if there are a few more questions that are unanswered, but we can reach out to Safe From on their social media pages, like mentioned before. You can also check us out on Chitalayam in our social media pages. So we can further answer these questions as well. So don't feel that we're leaving them unattended. We will answer them later. But thank you so much for sticking with our presentation. And please fill out the feedback form that we've sent earlier. It'll help us learn more about your interests and what we can do further in the future. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you everyone for coming and being part of it and giving your input. It was lovely to have you all, and we hope you had a good session. Do not worry about the questions. I hope Kanika or Ilakya, you have taken a note of them, because unfortunately I don't have anything around me right now. But we would definitely get back to each one of them, probably through our Instagram stories. So do, keep yourself updated with that. We do that because, we tend to get a lot of questions and we're not able to cover all of them in the given amount of time. So we do this. This is like a daily thing for us. So feel free, if somebody else who wants to ask a question, but they did not post it here, you can always get back to Kanika or Ilakya, and we'll answer that for you in our stories.
Thanks for watching. For more discussions, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Also, make sure to like and comment more topics that you'd like to see us discuss. We'll see you next time.